Hey guys, it's Brett FX here, and real quick before we get on with this new show, I just want to let you guys know that this is the first one. We do not plan on future shows being this long. Again, we are trying to figure out the best ways to do these interviews and to bring these teams to you guys with all of their information and a little bit to know a little bit about them. So, again, guys, future episodes will not be as long as this one, but I hope you stay until the end because these guys really do have some good information. It's really interesting to learn about them, and definitely check out the links below and go check them out on all of their media outlets. All right, guys. So here, enjoy the interview.
Hey guys, daskro here. I'm joined with Brett, and I have something very special for you guys. We've been doing the Battlefield Esports recap for the last few weeks, and have had a lot of support for it, but we want to take it a step further. So we have a new series called the Team Spotlight. This is a series where we are going to interview a number of players from specific teams in the US or European competitive communities on PC and on console. The first one we're doing here is Exertus, which is a very special team because they compete in both the US and the European leagues. They have a very interesting story of how they got together. And so Brett and I are gonna answer a few questions. No, they're gonna answer a few questions. Keep on going, and we're going to go right into the questions right now. So Brett, how's it going? And what do you got for us?
All right, so yeah, pretty excited about this. First of all, I'd like to introduce the guys that we are going to be interviewing.
Hi, I'm Mad Dog.
Hey there, I'm Two Samurai.
And I'm crazy.
Okay, so now that we got introductions out of the way, first things first, how did you guys come to be? Like, what was it that really forced you guys together and to start playing competitively in Battlefield, as a team?
The team started years ago. I was in a clan actually called the Unknown Soldiers, and I started a team almost now, a little over 8.5 years ago. Started competitively, and from there I started to gather some core players. Crazy Nutta being one of them, who shortly joined me after I started the team in BF2. He joined me for 2142 era, and it progressed from there with a bunch of other players over the years, and we continued all the way up to our competitive scene here.
Awesome, awesome. So, you know, what was it like, competing in Battlefield 2 and 2142, back in those older versions of Battlefield? Because a lot of us know that the comp scene was certainly bigger back then than what it is now.
I definitely have to agree on that. The Battlefield 2 comp scene was phenomenal. There were phenomenal teams on both sides of the pond, if you want to call it that. At the time then, I was actually living over in the Euro area. That's how I met Crazy Nut online, through our clan, and we were both in the Euro division there, and we started up the team in BF 2142, and that was our best times together. It was great competition, great leagues, and Crazy, if you have anything that you want to add about that.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, excuse the pun, how things have turned out. Mainly just because, obviously, going from BF2 to 2142, you kind of figured that the majority of people that play on teams, especially nowadays, a lot of people tend to hop from team to team, trying to find what suits them best, and hopping through different players. And if they don't like a team, they'll just go somewhere else and whatever. But I guess for us, and now a lot of the people we have on the team currently, it's more about just being a bit more dedicated to each other and sticking together rather than having it on a more personal level, or less of a selfish level. Obviously, that's the way some people want to play. They'd rather just come on to win, and if they want to win, as it is with anything, if you want to win outright, then you've got to join the best. Whereas with us, it's always been about sticking together and kind of gradually improving.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. Yeah, I've definitely have missed that kind of team loyalty that you don't really see that often anymore, and a lot of the comp that today that is going on. It's really cool to see you guys, coming up through the ranks for that long. I mean, you're working on a decade now. That's pretty impressive right there, to be together for that long in this series. So, how was it for you guys transitioning from the Battlefield 2 2142 to transition all the way up to the games that we have now today? I mean, obviously your team is going to lose players, gain players, that type of thing. Was there ever a moment where you guys were possibly going to just change your identity completely?
I think for me, or probably for both of us, it wasn't so much about the transitioning of games and the players on the teams and that sort of thing, but more just the surroundings that we were playing in. So, for example, when we were at Unknown Soldiers, which is a military realism clan, we spent obviously half the time, dealing with clan issues and doing our jobs there online, and then the other half of the time playing the game and doing the competition side of things. So really, up until I don't know how long it was now, maybe about 6 months ago or just a little bit less, when we left that to focus on esports, it's only really been in these past 6 months that we've actually really properly focused on esports, because although we competed a lot for years and years, as anyone knows who's been in a military realism clan, it's tricky to manage your time enough and find good enough players to join the team in that sort of surrounding. So for both of us, I think to actually come on now and completely focus on esports rather than doing it kind of half-assed, it's probably been the biggest change, I suppose, which is why up until the last 6 months, probably loads of people hadn't even heard of us before, whereas now we're starting to sort of make a name for ourselves, which is, it's really nice to see.
Now, I got to step in here because I have a question that's really on my mind. So let me get this straight. Tudai was in Europe and synced up with Crazy Nutta back in the BF2 2142 days and played in the Euro scene. And now both of you guys are now playing in the American scene. So I know Crazy Nutta, I've seen you before play in U.S. events because I've casted some of these events. So both of you guys have played on both sides of the pond. How has that transition been for you guys?
For me personally, I lived over there. I was living overseas for a couple years. Got into my first competitive games actually before I moved overseas. And when I moved over there, I got linked up with the clan and started there. It's a whole different world playing in Europe and playing in North America. It's two different beasts. You can't really compare the two. There are some teams that are capable of competing in both, but it's very hard. The Euro scene, it's a more organized comp, if you want to call it that. There's a lot more teams, and all they do is care about comp scenes or competitive teams, organizations. That's all they do. They just go from team to team to team. While in North America, at the time when we started, it was more laid back. They had professional teams, but it was nothing that could compare to what we saw in Europe. Crazy, if you want to be able to comment more on that.
I guess maybe what daskro's hankering on is the fact that I tend to play a lot for American teams as well as European teams. I guess mainly that comes down to when we were at Unknown Soldiers, it was a US-based clan, and although we had European members, pretty much for like 5 years of my life, I only competed at sort of on American time. So really, recently competing at like 7 or 8 in the evening has been kind of a godsend because I'm so used to playing at sort of 2 or 3 in the morning.
Was that just a matter of convenience for you? I mean, did you just have a life schedule that allowed you to play at that, or just personal preference, or?
It's not really been a preference or anything like that. It's just because I guess I've always been, one of the key players on the teams that we've had. So as long as the matches weren't interfering with my real life stuff, then it was always convenient.
I got you. I guess I missed the question there. Thank you for clarifying that for me, Crazy. But no, when we started together, we both competed, if I'm not mistaken, both sides of the pond there. And we had some in 2142, we played in a Euro League, and we also played some in North American leagues, and it was definitely a challenge, staying up till 3 or 4 in the morning to play. And for Crazy to be able to do it as long as he has, especially with, being here with me, he's been one of my best friends, and I'd like to thank you for that, Crazy.
Sentiments going all over the place. So, with you guys, playing over in the Euro scene for a while, did you guys ever win anything? I know you had to compete in some big tournaments.
No, to be honest, like I said, it's only really been the last 6 months or so that we've properly got into the scene. Because as it was before that, it was kind of half casual, half competitive. So there wasn't actually any opportunities that we had to really have a good enough team to become, a decent enough force to actually win anything. Which is why, we're really looking to BF4. I mean, towards the end of BF3, there's been some really good opportunities. There was a LAN event that's coming up in a month or so that we were, really tempted to go to, but at the end of the day, we really just want to make sure we're ready for the next game.
And how are you guys preparing for that? How are you guys preparing for BF4? Are you doing anything different than you have been the last few months?
Yeah, I would say the only thing different that we're doing is we're really trying to find more dedicated members that are not going to be here for the short term. Any member that we're taking onto the team now has, at least for Rect, and I'm pretty sure for the Euro guys also, they need to be dedicated in the long term. We don't want to have to rebuild a team for BF4. We want to be able to have the team cohesion, be able to go in there and stomp in the field the day it opens.
Yeah, we really aren't seeking players for Battlefield 3 anymore. We're not even that concerned about Battlefield 3, to be honest. We're, like Tudai said, we're solely seeking players for Battlefield 4 and beyond that.
You guys mentioned dedicated players. What does that actually mean? I mean, what does that mean to you guys when you think of what a dedicated player represents?
Crazy Nutta. I can't give you a better opinion than that. Somebody who stuck around, been a great friend, been a great player for years upon years. There's the core group that we had here was Crazy Nutta, Prowler. We had Double O Me for years. These are people that I've gamed with for years that I could count on and trust to know that they're going to be here with me day in and day out, even when times get hard or we're arguing. Somebody that I can sit there and yell at and 5 minutes later go, dude, I'm sorry, man. Let's fix this problem. Let's move on. That's what I consider a dedicated player. Someone who's going to not, take things personally, and they're going to look at it from the larger perspective and work as a team and still be friends.
That was, like what he just explained, that was actually something that that's exactly what I was looking for in a team. At the time that I started talking to Tudai, like we were basically building up Exertus, the organization, and I really wanted to get a Battlefield team in here. So I talked to a few teams, and like we weren't even seeking the best team. What I wanted more than anything was the most consistent team, and that's what I found in talking with Tudai and working with his. Most of the players at the time were his European guys, like Prowler, Crazy, Phantom, but basically, I found that consistency with this team, which has worked out great here.
You touched on the fact that Exertus was a gaming organization. What exactly, how many teams do you guys have?
We currently have we have 2 Battlefield teams, Rect and EU, and then we have a CS:GO team and 2 League of Legends teams currently.
So you guys are currently not looking for anybody, but for new players out there who are looking for teams, what kind of tips can you guys give them in getting into the comp scene now? Because as we did say, it is kind of tailing off right now. It's not dead, but it is slowly dying. So what would you guys give them in a tip to finding teams and getting into the comp scene?
I'd say having to, get out there, make some friends first. Just kind of start to get to know people on some of the teams. Try and ring for them when they're practicing, practice scrims. Get your name out there. Show your skills off. The more you show your skills off and the more friendly you are, your personality, all that, the more apt you are to be being given an invite onto a team or a tryout onto a team. If you just pub, you're not going to get, it's not going to get done. It's not just going to land in your lap, because there's a huge difference between pubbing and competitive gaming. And that, that took me a while to learn until we really moved over here. And it's become more and more apparent that if you want to be on a good competitive team, you need to scrim. You need to make friends. You need to just branch out and be friends with everybody in the comp scene. So
right now, presently, you guys have been competing in a couple of tournaments. I know you guys competed in CEVO Season 1, CGL currently. That's your US team, I believe, and then your Euro team is competing over in ESL. How are your teams doing right now?
The North America team right now, we're doing fairly well. We had a unfortunate finish in CEVO, but we're going to come back with Season 2 and make a big splash there. CGL, we're doing pretty well. We're into the 3rd week now. We won the first 2 weeks, and we're actually playing in War XS, which is a South American league. And so far, we have won our last 2 matches by over 200 tickets each round, or total in the end of the match. I'm sorry about that. I know our EU team is also doing fairly well. Crazy, if you want to comment on that.
Yeah, I think at the moment for us it's finding the time that everyone's got, because at the moment it's the end of the semester for everybody, and summer holidays and that sort of thing are coming up. So for us it's just we're still sticking around with the A series, and pretty much for any European players, you'll know that pretty much everyone just plays ESL versus constantly, just to keep on top of things. But we're just sticking with the A ladder for the time being, because really, although there's a lot of places to go for European playing, for me it's more about making sure we're just keeping playing but not overplaying, so we don't just completely burn the game out before BF4, which I know is a hell of a long way away. So the last thing we want to do is end up burning ourselves out before that, because for me personally, I'd rather just keep playing, keep on top of things, and kind of almost cruise through to BF4. Because even though BF3 is still going, I mean, it's been like a year and a half now, and props to all the people that are still keeping competitions going for it, because I don't know what the North American scene especially would have done without things like CEVO and CGL.
Yeah,
It's kind of
no
it's kind of
doubt.
it's kind of a shame that they weren't here.
Yeah, no
Yeah,
doubt. There's not a whole lot going on. You're absolutely right. And I mean, and I will say this, TWL has done a really good job of staying around. A lot of people like to rag on them about being, yeah, there's TWL, it's not that competitive, but they're doing a good thing by getting a lot of new teams introduced. And you guys are still a part of TWL, correct?
Yes, we're actually in first place in 6v6 fast attack and 5v5 infantry only.
Yeah.
I think you're right in what you say, though. I think it's uh, sort of relating to what you were saying before about people that were looking to get into competitions and stuff. If you're not sure on kind of the level you're at, then TWL is a great place to start off. Although it's like you said, it's not the highest by any means, but if you're not sure where to go, it's always a great place to start off, because that's kind of where all the entry level teams start off. I think we're kind of just I think we played a match on TWL for months and months because we just sort of sat there doing nothing. But there's no point leaving if you're at the top.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And that's something that I think that will be fixed over in BF4 when we get more teams that can enter into those. There'll be a lot more competition going back and forth. So and you guys touched on the fact that you guys have just recently become noticed by the community as a whole. So what was your progression? Coming from that team that maybe not too many people really talked about or even feared when it came to playing them, to now being one of those teams that people take notice when you show up for a scrim or show up in a tournament on their next match list.
Um, I would just like to comment and say, from an external viewpoint, both of these teams have grown in huge ways. I would say that when Exertus picked them up, they were obviously one team. It was mostly, I think it was like 4 out of 5 of the guys were European playing in American leagues, and one of the things that we had to work through was getting the teams to divide, basically, and so that the European players could start practicing on their own schedule, competing in their own leagues with not non-ridiculous pings, and same for the American guys. So after we did that, we were actually able to see the teams really start from scratch almost, and I mean they're doing great. As you can see, they're one of the top teams. I would say that we're not the top currently, but yeah, we're doing really great, and we've grown from a semi-casual team. Before they came here, I feel like they were somewhat of a casual team. So
I think a lot of people probably forget as well that the majority of teams we're competing with are teams that maybe they might not have been here before BF3, but have at least been here since the start of BF3. Whereas the teams and the people we're fielding and the 5 starting people that we have in each match have only really been competing together in the last couple of months or so. So I think with what we have, we've done well. I think we can be happy with what we've achieved and kind of look forward to taking it through to BF4, because I'm sure what we'll achieve there will be a lot more than what we have done in BF3. This is kind of just the prelude, I guess.
One thing you mentioned, Crazy, was this idea that you didn't want to get burnt out on Battlefield before BF4 comes out. Can you talk a little bit about what that means? I mean, because a lot of people, I don't think, appreciate how much time and effort it takes to to get to the stature that you guys have as a competitive team? How do you mitigate being burnt down? What is it?
I think on a personal level, it kind of depends on the person. For me, I mean, the game's been out a year and a half, and I've played such a small amount of hours that for me, I'd rather just come on, have an hour or two's practice, play a scrim, and be done, rather than, you know, trial for hours and hours, making things perfect and perfect. And really, the way to do that is just to scrim. I mean, I gave up, you know, everyday pubbing ages and ages and ages ago, just because it didn't do anything for me anymore. The game itself is only exciting to me now because of competitions, and the only reason I come online and play with everyone is because, you know, we get together as a team and we have scrims, which is always fun. But at the same time, it's doing way more than you get with pubbing, because obviously you're improving your teamwork, you're improving your personal game, and you're just keeping on top of things. I mean, the kind of the games you get that give you a real kick in the head and kind of a smack back to reality are the ones where you know that you haven't prepared enough, and you haven't expected the enemy team to do as well as they have, and things like that. And they're the ones where we sit down and we say, okay, we didn't practice at all for this match, which has happened to a lot of teams. I know, because that's what happens if you let things go and you don't practice for a while, then you end up playing like crap. But at the same time, I think if you do it too much, you can just fry yourself.
It's the truth.
I think I don't know. Obviously, there's teams that can spend a lot of time playing the game week in, week out, but I really don't know of any teams that would play more than, you know, a couple of scrims a day or something, unless they're really, really dedicated. But I think at this stage in the game, it's better now to just, you know, keep it steady.
Absolutely. Now, you touched on a little bit of, playing better teams and, getting that snap back to reality of, holy crap, we just got our asses handed to us. What do you guys do after that? What do you guys, what is your process of, okay, we just got beat. What happened? Like, do you guys sit and talk about it, or, how do you go about fixing those problems?
After every match that we'll say that goes poorly, or even every match, we have a debrief. We sit down, we talk, who screwed up, who didn't screw up. And that even if the match went phenomenally, who did something wrong. And we, positively critique them and help them get better. In negative situations in matches, or negative matches, I should say, every match is recorded, and we put it up under a private video, and we watch the videos together. We go over the game footage step by step by step, looking for what specific incidents caused things to go wrong, and we make corrections there. That's one of the big things, is being able to review what we did so we do not make the same mistake again. And we like to have specific corrections. That way, if it happens again, we'll know either somebody A, wasn't putting in the time to make the correction, or B, it was something else that really played a bigger factor in that.
Awesome. Because I know that a lot of new teams, they may get discouraged when they do get beat up by a more, skilled team, or somebody who has been around longer. And it's, don't get discouraged, guys. Keep trying and doing that. I mean, I know I've been in contact with you guys for like almost a year now. I've talked with you guys. I've played against you guys. I've had a lot of fun conversing and having conversations back and forth. And I really like your guys' attitudes. And I think that really is what it comes down to, wouldn't you think? I mean, your attitude towards the game. You guys are always wanting to get better, right?
It's very true. Up until recently, as Crazy said, the North American team practiced 7 days a week, starting at 7:30 p.m. Eastern and going until we were done, which could be hours. Up until recently, we just cut that back. We now practice 4 days a week, but we're still dedicated to making the corrections and bettering ourselves. And we'll sit there, we'll talk. All right, this is what happened. Let's do it. We come up with better strategies, and we progress, because if we don't do that, we're never going to be the best out there.
All right. See, that's awesome. That's awesome. So on a lighter note, I mean, we've talked about a lot of, how maybe to keep teams up and everything. So, but on a lighter note, I would like to know, where do you guys, who do you guys think is really an all-star player on your team? Like, who do you guys have just been so proud of, that have seen so much growth from here in the last, 6 months or so?
I would have to say the player that's shown the most improvement is actually Prowler, and I think Crazy could possibly agree with that.
Yeah, definitely.
Prowler went from being your average player to being one of the best players I think I've ever seen in this game. He spent hours upon hours just training on his own, playing ESL versus, getting better, and becoming what he is today. He really has been a key part in helping this team progress also.
I think Prowler's one of those players that I think a lot of teams have where if you turn up to a match and you have, say, a roster of 7 people or something, if he's not there, you always feel a little bit less confident, and it's always a little bit of like there's a missing part, because for the European team, Prowler's kind of the shot caller, so to speak. So without him there, it's a pretty vital role gone. But also because, unlike me, I'm probably one of the worst people. Is that he keeps his cool a lot. That's one thing that's always been my downfall. Is I get so mad when stuff goes wrong.
Are you a rager?
No.
Crazy has actually been pretty good.
I got better, but
He has.
it's just I think I realize more why now than in previous games, because I think there hasn't been a game up until now like BF3 where being in a different continent makes such a big difference. It's unbelievable. Like BF2 2042, I'd have no problem shooting people in like on 100 ping or whatever, but playing BF3 where the hit detection is
Client
whatever
side.
they call it, client side, I don't know how true that is, but my god, I mean, plus the fact that my internet sucks. I won't go on about it because I'll just bore you, but yeah.
Been down this road, Crazy. I feel your pain, man. It's Crazy. As much as he says that he was a rager, everybody has in a match. That can't be dumped solely on him or on me or on anybody. It's what happens in this game where BF3 has its quirks, we should say.
And on that note, I'd like to ask 2 questions related to this. First question, if you could change one thing about Battlefield 3, what would you change? And then secondly, especially since you guys talked about your backgrounds in BF2 and 2142, what changes are you looking most forward to in Battlefield 4, be it stated or just speculative?
Personally, I would love to see Battle Recorder back for BF4, and I hear they're bringing back Commander Mode, which will be good for 5-on-5. But I would like to see them bring back the server-side hit detection, so I'm not well around the corner and getting shot by a slug from somebody with a 300 ping from South America. Those are some of the biggest downsides to being able to play competitively, as you think you're behind cover, you're behind cover, and boom, you're dead when you're 6 feet behind the wall. That's one of the biggest downsides to BF3 that I'm hoping that they also fix for BF4. And having the demo recorders back also is phenomenal, because that means it's going to be a little easier to review everybody's gameplay for competitive gaming.
So coming from another Euro player's perspective, what do you think, Crazy? I'm on the same questions.
Well, 100%. I mean, all the while through when BF3 was coming out and we were receiving all these teaser trailers and stuff, and they kept going on about this elusive quote-unquote esports update that they were going to bring out that was, going to be the big thing that would kick off BF3's esports, which ended up being some stupid match system that wasn't really any use. So for me, I mean, the only reason I play games anymore is just esports. Anything that's going to help esports, be it theater mode, battle recorder, whatever you want to call it, be it a matchmaking system, be it official dice tournaments, a lot more supported companies doing tournaments online and LAN, just anything that's going to get the name out there and
No doubt. I
make it
would
a lot
love
more
to
exciting.
see some lands. Absolutely. Daskro and myself just casted a land last weekend. Oh my God, it was so much fun. I cannot wait, until we see, lands popping up everywhere, multiple lands, happening in the same week or something. That would just be so awesome. But
Yeah, actually, one
Oh,
of our
yeah.
players was at that LAN, I believe. Revo.
Duke PT was at it.
Oh, Duke. I'm sorry.
oh yeah, dude. Oh my God, guys. I tell you what, dropping a 60 bomb in Bazaar.
Yeah,
It was
he went
awesome
crazy.
to watch. Awesome to watch. In fact, I'm gonna be uploading some of that stuff on YouTube. I've already told him. I was like, man, I got you on some highlights, bro. You gotta check it out. So it's gonna be exciting to watch that. But coming from I guess an owner's view, Mad Dog, what are you looking forward to?
In Battlefield 4, I would love to see more esports accommodations, I guess. Spectator mode, battle recorder, better anti-hacking measures, like Tudai was talking about the net code, basically. There is a lot actually that I'm looking for. Um, when I also deal with games like CS:GO and League of Legends, and like they're just on a whole different level because those games are built for esports, and that's what I truly want from Battlefield 4. And I think that the makers of Battlefield know that that's what, like, they need to include that at least somewhere in their game, because the community has made it pretty evident that that's what they want.
Yeah,
Dice
absolutely.
know. If Dice don't do anything about it in BF4, then I seriously think that EA is like killing the series, or they're under EA's thumb or something,
Yeah.
because they know it more than anybody that that's the one thing that they missed out on in BF3. And whether or not BF3, whether they want to call it the, whatever percentage they said, it was like 30% of Frostbite 2 was BF3, and they're gonna boost it for everything for BF4. Whether or not that was like the pre-game to what this is going to be. They said that last time as well, so you can't help but feel a little bit anxious about what's coming out.
I know you hope just as much, Crazy, they get rid of some of these linear maps like Metro and bring back maps like they used to have in 2142 and BF2, where there's so many different options for strategies that you could do. You could flank, you can go up the middle, you can swim across at the F and map, So many different options out there. And I really hope they bring some of that back for BF4, because for competitively, you can take a team who does not have the best shooters and still give a great challenge to a team that has phenomenal shooters if you have better strategy.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. So, on that note of having different maps, I know that you guys are primarily a 5v5 team. What are you guys' thoughts on possibly going into maybe some 8s or 12s? Have you ever even toyed with the idea?
I actually spoke about it when we started getting a lot of players, when we split into two teams and had the NA and EU teams, and for a little while the Saga guys are over here. Because obviously, if we have a lot of people on that are playing the game, there's no reason why even just for fun, why we couldn't just hop on and play some 8s or something. Vehicles have always been our kryptonite.
That's an understatement. That is truly an understatement. You give me a vehicle in game, and I'm like, where the hell do we put this thing?
Yeah, it's never been anything we've done. I mean, I think we did it a little bit with Unknown Soldiers, but never anything too serious. And I don't mind vehicles at all if I'm pubbing and stuff. And I know there are a lot of people that are on our teams that have had previous experience with vehicles and stuff. So I'm pretty sure there's something to discuss, especially if BF4 explodes and there's hundreds of people looking for teams and there's loads of new teams being made and all that sort of stuff, which let's hope. Then you never know. You never know what's in 12 months' time. We could be having this discussion again, and
going 5s. What are 5s?
Oh, absolutely. I'm going to be honest with you guys, and I know Daskro, you feel kind of the same way. You'd like to see some 12s and 8s come back, right?
I would love to see a future Battlefield competitive scene that focuses really on the combined arms element of the game, and in that it's infantry and ground vehicles and air vehicles and even ships, because I go back to 1942 days and think of the old school destroyers and battleships and carriers, be able to move them around and what have you, and that was really cool, and I want to see that come back again in some respect or another in a future Battlefield time. Maybe it's a Battlefield 2143 with the Titan. Maybe it's going back to Battlefield Vietnam and bringing the pontoon boats back. That's what I'd like to see in the future. And one thing that I have to agree on, no doubt, is the fact that with bigger maps and maps that aren't as linear, you do get differentiated strategies, and you have big maps that have a lot of variety in vehicles. It actually creates another level of strategy, because then the vehicles become in of itself another element that can be controlled, manipulated, and that's what I really look forward to in future Battlefield titles.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So, moving along here, what do you guys have? I know we touched a little bit on Battlefield 4, but what are your plans as a team as a whole? And Mad Dog, I would also love to hear what you have planned for Exertus in the future. I mean, I'm not talking about just 6 months in the future when BF4. I'm talking about a year, 2 years from now. What are you guys looking at? Like, what are you hoping to achieve?
Oh man, I have some pretty high goals. I mean, we already like our CS:GO team, and like our CS:GO team competes with teams like Curse and Quantic already. They finished third in intermediate. They got moved up to main and ESEA, and there's still a chance that we might make Invite, which is the top league. And this is our basically our first season. I mean, Exertus is very new, and our League of Legends teams they're already beating Curse, which is heavily sponsored. Um, I mean, I think that organizational goals. I think my main goal is to be the best organization out there. To I guess cater to sponsors and actually this off season, which is basically now, is when we're going to start talking to sponsors more. Um, we currently only have one sponsorship now through EO Reality. Um, just provides us servers and stuff like that. But we definitely need some help financially to fund lands and um, so that that's not solely coming out of my pocket and some of management their pocket as well. But um, my goal is just to have a thriving organization that wins everything. I guess I really don't know what else to say other than that.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, I absolutely love the fact that you guys are supporting and picking up teams for multiple games. I think that's pretty cool. And as I stated before, I'm excited to see how many more organizations are created that are like yours. When BF4 comes out, if we see a lot more of that type of thing happening. But anyways, guys, we have reached a fairly long interview. I have enjoyed this pretty well. I mean, you guys have been awesome. I really appreciate you guys talking to us, and I hope you guys, the viewers, have got a little bit more of an insight as to who Exertus, who they are, and kind of get a little interested in them and see see how they do in future events. In the description below, I'm going to have all of the YouTube channels, all of the Twitch channels, and their website. So you guys definitely go down, check them out. They are awesome players. They really are. And I know from personal experience of playing against them and also from watching their videos. So, Daskro, you got anything for them?
No, I want to thank Exertus for really coming to the scene and really shaking things up. I don't think a lot of people fully appreciated how powerful a force you guys were going to be in the scene. And what I also love about it, for very personal and selfish reasons, is that you guys record your footage and you post it on occasion. And I think it's so cool that you guys do that. And I didn't know that you guys actually record to actually review it on your own in private. I think that's really cool and really indicative of what it takes to be a good team that continues to grow and learn, because you're going to need that. And hopefully in Battlefield 4, when a battle recorder or a demo recorder comes out, we'll all be able to do that, and I'll be able to have that same kind of learning experience. So I want to thank Mad Dog, Two Die Samurai, and Crazy for interviewing with us, and want to thank all of you watching for watching this entire long interview. I know it's been a bit long, but we'll be doing more of these interviews with other teams on both US and Euro, on both PC and console in the future. So I want to thank all you guys for tuning in. We'll see you guys later.